Hello, my name is Arianna Harris, producer and host of Aim for the Stars, where you'll meet the stars of today and tomorrow. I'm an actress and model from the East Coast of the United States, and this show is brought to you by Jess TV and Jess FM Radio from Lethbridge, Alberta. I am pleased to introduce my next guest, Arianna Fox. Arianna is a best-selling triple author, entrepreneur, keynote speaker, actress, professional voiceover actress, book editor, and instructor. Hello, Arianna. I'm so happy that you could join me today. And if the audience is confused, yes, our name is spelled the same, but it's pronounced differently.
Hi, Arianna. Great to see you. And yes, it definitely is one of the most funny things I encountered when I first connected with you on Facebook. I was like, no, really? A fellow actor who actually has my same name? But it is spelled pronounced differently. But yeah, so excited to be on. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Okay, so as I said, you are already an accomplished author and you have 3 published books despite how young you are. Could you tell me and the audience a little more about your journey as a writer?
Oh, absolutely. So I started off with the Princess Chronicles, which I wrote when I was about 6 years old, and then ended up actually publishing around 12. It's called Not Your Average Princesses. That's the subtitle, and it has it's about a children's book about princesses learning, kindness, friendship, forgiveness, trust, teamwork, all those important qualities. And it took 6 years to finish the publication process because we needed to find an illustrator because it's a children's book. With False Awakening, which is my second book and my first novel, it's a sci-fi novel for all ages that's much more gritty and fun, but also family friendly. And it's kind of like if you took The Matrix and Inception, you kind of smash them together, and then you have False Awakening. So it's about a man who's in a dream within a dream within a dream. He joins a rebellion, fights against an evil tyrant to save the dream world and the real. So fun stuff there. Saber Black is my third book, which is a fantasy sci-fi mix, more on the fantasy side. That's definitely more of a coming of age story for young adults and teens about basically about 2 different winged groups of people, some with white wings, some with black wings. Some with gray wings. It's a really fun, situation. But there are certain ones who are considered the good guys, and there are certain ones who are considered the bad guys. And the main character is born in the place with the bad guys, but has to essentially fight for the good ones. So the question obviously stands: is she good? Is she bad? Is she both? Etc. The book I'm currently writing right now is called Merchant of Secrets, and it's kind of a start of a new series called The Chronicles of the Sorelli System. At least that's the working title. And it's essentially a space opera, which for those who don't know what that is, it's not an opera. It's set in space, and usually it involves sci-fi and fantasy put together. But it's intergalactic, and it's a very, very fun work in progress to be working on. A little too long right now. Is there anything specific you were wanting to know in terms of the journey, like where I started or inspiration or any of that?
I would love to know how you started specifically and how exactly you feel like your journey as an author has evolved, your writing style, stuff like that.
I love this question. Okay. So I started off not even liking to read. I'll put it that way. I didn't like to read when I was younger. And when I was very, very young, I don't know, probably about 4 or so years old, I told my parents in my little Minnie Mouse voice, I said, I want to be an author when I grow up. And I don't know what got into me. I think it was just because I loved exploring my imagination. I loved imagining, creating, coming up with characters. I loved movies and I loved games, and I had favorites that kind of inspired my love of characters and dialogue, and I think that's kind of what inspired it. Plus my parents are very creative and they're wonderful people. And so when I told my parents that I wanted to be an author when I grew up, their response was not what you would expect. Their response was not, oh, okay, honey, that's great. We support you and love you, but let's revisit that in a couple of years, okay? No, no, no. Their response was, okay, cool, but why when you grow up? Why wait? Why not start now? And that was absolutely blowing to my little 4-year-old mind, because I had no idea that you could even conceive such notions. I had no idea that people could actually be writers or do what they wanted to do in life at that young of an age. And as a society, we tell other people, especially kids, we say, what do you want to do when you grow up? We don't say, what do you want to do right now? We kind of instill it in them for later that they have to grow up in order to do something great. So I was just amazed. So it was then that I decided to start writing, and that's when I wrote the Princess Chronicles, and it was just really, really an amazing journey from then on. And my parents are such inspirations. As for how writing style has changed, and as for the evolution, that's such a great question because as I said, I didn't grow up loving reading, so my inspiration for things didn't stem from books. So I was great at dialogue, horrible at description. I was good at characters, but really bad at exposition and plot. And so I had certain strengths that could have been definitely honed in on a bit if I hadn't, if I had read more. About 13 or so years old was when I finally discovered my love for reading with the Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And when I read the first story, it absolutely hooked me. And then I realized classic literature was my thing. I had previously been reading modern, and so that classic literature inspired me to understand a whole lot more about everything from character development, how they created characters, how they created characters that had conflict and within themselves, and even conflicting personality traits that actually do help each other out. And also, it helped me to be much better at descriptions of places and characters. So, great question.
Okay, perfect. So you do like to read now. I'm wondering, is what you read and what you watch a lot different from what you like to write?
Yes and no. What I like to watch, I would say yes, because I like to watch everything. As long as, I mean, everything from action to psychological thriller to horror to, sci-fi. My parents and I have a favorite TV show called Fringe. We absolutely love it. And I think that a lot of what I write, like right now, I'm writing the space opera, sci-fi, fantasy. It's kind of like Star Wars, but if you kind of gave it a more classic style. And I would really say that even though in its appearance it's different from a lot of what I watch, it has a lot of references and inspirations and even purposeful Easter eggs of the stuff that I do enjoy. And that goes obviously for classic literature as well. With the books that I read, it really does inspire a ton of what I write now. Back then, the books didn't inspire anything because I wasn't reading, but now it really, really does in the way that I write, in my structure. I now am kind of going for that little bit older, a little bit more nostalgic feeling of the style instead of just kind of throwing it out there and seeing if it works.
That's awesome. Okay, so I know you're also a very successful, I would say, voiceover artist. How
Thank
did
you.
how did you initially like get into this kind of work?
Oh goodness. Well, I think it started when I was around six-ish, 6 or so years old. My dad is a voice actor, and we do a little bit of different styles, other than of course our voices being different. He is also more of an impressionist. He does a lot of impersonations and of characters, actors. I mean, he's amazing. I'm not so good on the impressions, but I can do accents. I can do original characters. I can do a very wide variety of ranges of ages, from high to low to young to old. So really, it when I saw him recording in the studio one day when I was like 6 years old, I was like, this is so cool. I want to be able to do this. And of course, he was like, all right, well, let's do some stuff. Let's get you on some sites. Let's figure it out. And one of the biggest moments for me of realizing I really want to do this was really funny to me. My dad was a part of a podcast that was like an audio drama series, and he was playing the dad of the main character, who was a teenage girl who got kidnapped. And so he was playing the dad, and he had these lines that were like, "I'll save you, my daughter. Oh, I love you. I'm so happy that you're back," and all these things. And I just remember in my, kind of illogical 6-year-old mind, kind of staring and going, "Why is he calling somebody else's daughter? That's me." I'm an only child too, so I'm just like, that should be me playing his daughter. And of course, he had to lovingly inform me that that's not how the casting process works. But he's like, what we can do is get you involved in the voice acting industry. And so then I got into it. I got excited. He taught me a bunch of amazing things about how to get into character and do accents and all that sort of thing. And then hilariously enough, some years later, as I was starting to gain some traction, that series actually got a reboot. And in that reboot, they added a sister of that daughter, and I got to play her, meaning that I did actually get to play the daughter of my dad in that show, which was really fun. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just been a steady, hard and long, incline, but it's been worth it. It's very much worth it.
seems like you really got your creative roots from your parents, and like did it all start around 6?
I feel like it did. I I had a lot of things starting around that time: writing, acting, voiceover acting. My parents actually even started their small business where we did graphic design, and I was obviously a part of it around that time as well. I actually was doing going around handing business cards to people at chamber mixers when I was only 6 years old, and telling people our business spiel, and it was very fun. So it feels like a lot of my life really started when I was around 6. Yes.
That is so funny. Okay, so I know you just mentioned that your dad did some of your voice training. Did you have any other type of training, like
Yeah.
dialect?
Oh,
What was
yeah.
that
It's
like?
a bunch of different styles and from different places. I never really had one. I had some acting coaches. I didn't really have as much of voice acting coaches because I just learned and picked up from everything. You know, I would watch YouTube videos with accents. That one was just a passion project for me, to where I didn't even need to feel like I had to do research. I mean, in the way of saying, I didn't feel like I needed to do any further. I was already doing it for fun. I was already researching for fun. And that's because every single day I was always researching accents, researching how to do accents, finding YouTube videos, learning, and then passively learning by watching stuff. Like, I watched so much British media, so much Scottish media. So those accents just kind of soak into my brain, in addition to the actual official videos that I watch to learn. And research is always important. As for other training, I've taken some things here and there. I've taken some classes. I actually have a class online on Udemy called Voiceover Acting and Training, and not to be marketing or anything, but I go into a lot of stuff from setup to success. Basically, is what I say. It's going into the actual setup of the microphone, how you're going to do it, what you're going to use to your delivery, to how you get on the sites, all that stuff. So I actually have one on Udemy if anybody is interested in that sort of thing.
So, okay, so you've devoted a lot of your time. I know you have, ever since you were little, starting with your book to inspire people with the messages, and you're still spreading messages of things like hope, inspiration, confidence. Could you tell, like, why is that so important to you, and why is that like a passion for you?
Absolutely. Well, I've always wanted to inspire people. Ever since I could remember, that was what I wanted to do. I remember even having moments as a child, probably on the verge of tears as a wee one, feeling like I'm not inspiring people enough. And I just, as a child, I always wanted to find ways, and I felt like I never had those opportunities. I felt like, how can I, as a little one, how can I inspire people through games, or through the things I do, or I or what, through marketing, with other professionals. I don't feel like I'm able to inspire. And now that I have that platform, I'm so happy to be able to do so. Whether it's from just messages, like I do motivational speaking, I've done keynote speaking for some pretty cool places. I've been really, really honored and blessed to do things for like Dell sponsored and Microsoft sponsored Digit Girls. That was huge, like I think multiple years in a row, and interview the governor, all that kind of stuff. It was awesome. Doing some really cool speaking events, even one to like 400 students at a high school here in Delaware. And it was just that kind of stuff. When after that 400 student one, there was a student I remember who made a video detailing his experience about how much he learned, and how inspired he was to pursue his own dreams and to do his own stuff. And that made me so happy. And there were like that from the very first speaking event I had, when there was a little kid at a daycare. That was my first ever speaking event, and I had this little like activity for them to do, where all the people would have balloons, and what it was that everybody would go around trying to stomp on each other's balloons while trying to protect their own. And that the moral at the end was that in life there are going to be people who are going to try to stomp on your dreams, and those balloons are like your dreams. And while you shouldn't try to stomp on other people's dreams, you need to protect your own. And at the very end of the speaking event, one kid came up with his balloon intact, came up to me and said, "I'm not going to let anybody stomp on my dream." And I wonder where that kid's at now. Like, that was years ago. I was like 12. So I'm like, that's amazing. And I want people to be inspired by that. And even if it's just by the stuff I've done, like, voice acting for Genshin Impact recently, there are actually 3 or so people who came up to me afterwards saying, "Wow, this inspires me to do voice acting." I'm like, awesome. Even in acting and through Sleepers, which I'd love to talk about in a little bit. Just there's so much that people are inspired by, and I'm surprised, but I'm so happy to be able to give that to people, and that's my ultimate goal. Like, I don't want to just succeed, I want other people to be able to do so as well. So
Perfect. Okay, for everyone just tuning in, my name is Arianna Harris, and I'm the producer and host of Aim for the Stars, and we are coming to you live from Jess TV, and my guest is Arianna Fox, author, voiceover actress, guest speaker, and instructor. Super boss.
So are you. You're amazing.
So I know you just did mention Sleepers. Have you always wanted to be an actor, or what was kind of like your leeway?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really did always like acting. I loved when I was young. I did a very interesting. I don't want to say watered down version of acting, but it was definitely an interesting version of acting, which we called production. And that production was essentially me running around the living room going ballistic. It was a lot of fun. But I would be characters, and I would go back and forth, and I'd build my own, creative storylines and imagination, and a lot of it I did with my parents too, and it was just a lot of fun. So I always enjoyed getting into character, and I think that that's part of what I loved about being an actor. And as I got more and more into, about 13 is when we finally decided, okay, let's try to do some professional acting stuff. And so we got into all of it. I got headshots, we did the demo reel thing, amazing things that my dad is a graphic designer and video producer and director and filmmaker, which I'll go into with Sleepers. So he got my demo reel beautifully done and everything. But it was a very hard journey. And then with some of these, we were actually collecting demo reel footage, at least so we thought. So my dad previously hadn't displayed too much of an interest in wanting to be a director, maybe internally, but externally, he's always been a graphic designer, that sort of thing. And one time when I was about 13-ish, we started with a thing called Box in the Basement, that he was just trying to create some good footage for me, for my demo reel, for my acting. And he was doing that, but unfortunately, the bug of filmmaking bit him a little too hard and realized this needs to be more than just a short little clip. So then he made it a film short. And as we started getting more people involved, this is our first film, we started getting more people involved, started getting more things, and then realizing how much we could do with this, and then it became a full-length film. And then it was, my dad realized, oh, directing is very good, very cool. So then we worked on one of my personal favorite projects I've worked on, which is called Sleepers. And I'm so excited to unashamedly talk about how cool it is, because I think it's a fantastic thing. It's releasing on, I believe it's March 3rd, in a lot of different platforms. We have some great promotional stuff that you can check out if you're ever interested. But Sleepers is such a fun project. I got to play Anya, who is a Russian sleeper agent, and essentially she's being assimilated into American culture to basically blend in, and she's being taught by her Russian overseers how to infiltrate. And one of the most fun things is getting to play this character and do the stunts, because I am such an action person. I'm such a nerd on action films, and I love being able to actually be physical and do it myself and do these fight sequences and combat. It was amazing. It was like my favorite part of Sleepers, and it was just an overall wonderful experience that I'm so excited is finally going to be released to the public very, very soon. So 3 cheers for my director daddy, Mike Fox, because he's got a ton under his plate and working for so much more. So really excited about that.
I'm so excited to see it. It sounds so cool. I know so your parents inspired you a lot, but do you have someone else that's your role model, or have they really just been the biggest inspiration to you?
Honestly, I would say my parents were easily the biggest inspiration for me. But other than that, it's funny. I'm not a role model person. I'm really not. I'm one of those people that I glean certain actions or certain admirations from certain people on certain things. That's a very much overuse of the word certain. As a book editor, I catch that, but unfortunately, it's real. When it comes to actors, celebrities, authors, that sort of thing, I have favorite authors and favorite actors for specific reasons, but it's not like my overall life role model, because I may admire the acting of somebody or the writing of somebody, but do I agree with everything they stood for? No. Or, is it something that a lifestyle that I want to have? No. So, it's just kind of like take what you can from what you've got. I'll give a few specific answers though, because I'm sure that's what you were wanting to hear. I do, as far as actors, one of my all-time favorite actors is John Noble. He plays Walter Bishop, and most people know him from Denethor in Lord of the Rings, if they know Lord of the Rings, but he plays Walter Bishop in an amazing show that I mentioned earlier, I think called Fringe. And he is one of the most multi-layered, insanely talented in different ranges actors out there. And he's just, he can go from being angry to making you cry because he's so sad to being just the most mischievous, fun, playful character. It's insane. So that's probably who I would pick for favorite actor. As far as favorite authors, I've got all the classics: Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Jules Verne, Robert Louis Stevenson, J.R.R. Tolkien. Who's the other one I always mention? Alexandre Dumas, who wrote Three Musketeers and Count of Monte Cristo and that sort of thing. A bunch. I think I said Jules Verne already, but yeah.
Okay, so lots of inspirations, but be your own role model.
Yes, absolutely.
You do a lot for work, but do you have any hobbies on the outside that you like doing?
Very good question. First of all, as far as family stuff, my parents and I always love enjoying ourselves, kicking back and watching a movie. We're big film buffs, movies, TV shows, that sort of thing. But also, I love being active. I love, going out. We love doing stuff together, living as fit a lifestyle as we can. I love bike riding, rollerblading, inline skating is really fun. I also love learning languages and playing musical instruments. So as far as languages, I taught myself Spanish and actually got a certificate from McGraw-Hill University, and it's really, really, really cool to be able to interact with people in Spanish. And I'm also now learning French and Scottish Gaelic, conversant in American language. And as for instruments, I am learning a little bit of piano right now with singing, which is something that I've been doing for some years now. And my favorite instrument to play is the bowda. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's an Irish frame drum. It's like circular, and you hold it with your hand like this, and then you have a little long stick called a tipper, and you play it like this. And you play it to a reel or a jig or a certain rhythm. It's really cool. So.
That is so interesting. I have never heard of that before, actually. How do you balance all of this? Do you have any challenges balancing your time and stuff?
Well, I'd certainly be lying if I said I didn't. Yes, of course. And that's why, especially with a brain like mine, which is so active and so all over the place, I desperately need, some kind of anchor. And I know it sounds so silly, but to-do lists are everything. To-do lists, calendars, something physical to put your thoughts and your schedules on. Okay, at this point, and this is not a paid promotion, advertisement, or plug or anything, but I use an app called Todoist, like with the to-do list, but without the L, Todoist. And it's an app that is really good, in my opinion, because it has priority levels as well, and you can set days, and you can set it for like whatever day of the week, like if you make it your own way that you want to. It is just really cool because you can do priority levels, and that's something that really needs to be stressed, is knowing your priorities in your schedule, in your daily life. Because if you don't know what you should prioritize, if you have, call back at this time, audition at this time, if you have like already scheduled times, then that's good. But if there are things that you don't know when you should do it, then that's when you kind of get off track. Okay, I have a callback, but I could do it anytime before 6 p.m. Should I do it now, or should I do it later at 4 p.m. and do this other thing first? And as a book editor who is right now, I'm actually going through a massive developmental and copy and line editing project for another author. On mental health, and so I also have to balance how much of my time I'm spending on editing and on chapters for other authors, and as well for my own writing, and also for, of course, acting, voice acting, the whole rest of the kit and caboodle. So it's definitely important to manage your priorities, know what you need to do first, know what you should be doing first, and if it doesn't really matter, then think about the way that you work best. Do you work best by doing the harder task first, or by doing the easier task first? Just that sort of thing is just very important to keep in mind, because it'll keep you on track, very much so.
Perfect. Okay, that's super helpful. Do you have any plans? Like, obviously you have plans, but do you have any set goals or anything that you would really like to accomplish over the next, I don't know, 5, 10 years or so?
Yes, the good old where do you see yourself in 5 years question. I know. I would say, I mean, my as far as goals and hopes are unfortunately two very different things. Goals, I hope to be able to, as far as actual like attainable goals, I have the goal to finish my book, this draft of Merchant of Secrets, hopefully in this coming year. I think that would be nice. Finishing the first draft at least will definitely happen this year and the next, the next months. As far as hopefully getting it to the end of the publishing process by the end of the year would be very nice. So at least between this year is my main goal to get this draft done because I've been working on it for way too long. And then as for languages, I'm always wanting to learn more languages within the next 5 years. Learning singing and music to a degree where I've been working on it for many years now, and I still want to get to a level where I feel much more confident and comfortable. And so that's something I definitely want to continue. A lot of these things are things I just want to continue going on, and that's not something you can just achieve or attain very, specifically. As for like general hopes and things that I've got my eyes set on, but that's out of my control, I'd say funding for the projects that my dad is working on that I'm also part of, whether it's Mia's Bridge, which is the current police and basically community-based and centered drama that my dad is working on. That's a really, really good and powerful story, and it's something that could be very, very just good overall. And then also Loveday Brooke, Lady Detective, is a very fun project we've been working on recently and hoping to get funding for wherever, however. We actually found some cool old places in like here in Delaware and in Pennsylvania to film a period piece mystery, kind of a la style of my two favorite movies, Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows by Guy Ritchie. And it's in that kind of style, but it's about an actual lady detective fictional character who was written by a female author, C.L. Purkis, in the 1890s, right around the same time that the Sherlock Holmes stories were going into the Strand. These were going into, I believe it was Punch, but it might have been a different magazine. But it was going into a Victorian magazine, and very few people know who Loveday Brooke is. So it was really fun for me to be able to kind of play a younger version of her. But our hope is to make this not just a teaser, but to advance it into a movie. So yeah.
All right. It seems like that's almost all we have time for, but is there anything else you would like the viewers to know, your social medias, any upcoming projects?
Of course. Well, first off, I want to say thank you again so much. This has been awesome, and you are doing amazing things. I see your Facebook all the time and all the wonderful updates, so great job on all the stuff you do. Yeah, as for social medias, you can find us anywhere that can think of in this fangled technological world. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, even the confounded TikTok. I must say I'm not a fan. But a lot of different social media profiles. You can find me as either Arianna Fox, Arianna Fox, or A Fox Author. That would be AFOXAUTHOR, like A Fox, who is an author. And you can also find my dad with Crystal Fox Films, the name of his production company, at Crystal Fox Films, or Official Mike Fox. And you can also find our sites, ariannafox.com or crystalfoxfilms.com, and from there you can find our emails and shoot us anything if you've got any questions. Always feel free to ask if you've got any questions. I know I have a voiceover course, but I'm always finding myself answering the DMs and PMs of other people who ask questions about voice acting in general, just to help them out. As a family, our goal is to educate. We don't want to climb the ladder of success without bringing a ton of people with us. Whoa, my word! Without bringing this video with me. I would say without bringing, a ton of people with us, if at all possible. And, we're just so excited to be able to do that. So we're always here to educate in any way possible.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Arianna, for joining me today. And thank you for our viewers for watching Aim for the Stars. Be sure you check out my other episodes on Jess TV and on Roku. Just calm yourself down.